Mr. O'Rourke. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, let me begin by thanking you for your service. I've only been in Congress a little over 2 years, but in that short time, I really feel that you personally have set a new bar for leadership and accountability and responsibility for the problems that you encountered, that you are turning around and, in fact, facing the future so that we build a better VA and do better for the veterans whom we serve. Case in point, 2 days after the tragic murder of Dr. Fjordbach in El Paso, Texas, you were there on the ground meeting with VA leadership, the incredible staff that works under Mr. Dancy. You, in fact, ensured that we had Mr. Dancy there to begin with. You replaced leadership and ensured that we had someone there who could be transformational, and that's what we need in El Paso right now. And so I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank you for your willingness to work with us to do better in El Paso. I mean, again, no need to focus on the past. We're not a top-tier performer. We want to be, and I want to figure out how we're going to do that. To some of the points that Mr. Kaufman just raised, in a $600 or $800 million facility now projected to be $1.1 billion or 1.4 at the high end, we can't do that anymore. In El Paso, we have partners like Texas Tech and the four-year medical school there, University Medical Center, the public hospital, private providers, Tenet and HCA, all of whom are desperate to work with us. I would like your commitment that we're going to, in the short time that we know that you have within this administration, 22 months, put together a plan and get it to a point where it is unstoppable so that should we be lucky enough to have you as Secretary in the next administration, or your successor will be able to work with us to implement that. Can I have that commitment from you publicly to work with me on that?
As you and I talked when we were there and we went to the Texas Tech site, what we want to do in El Paso is exactly what we did in Los Angeles, which is we got everybody together, we looked at all the options, and we're going to make the decision together. We're going to work together to get this done. This is a team sport. We can't do it by ourselves, and we know that. And so I look forward to working with Texas Tech. I look forward to talking to the Department of the Army, because as you know, currently our facility is connected to Beaumont, but Beaumont is closing. So but yes, we will work together to develop a plan for El Paso.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you for the presentation you made at the outset of this meeting. I think you placed our current problems in context. And they not all of them, some of them originate in the VA, but the wars that we choose to engage in, and you mentioned that, hopefully we're at the conclusion of our commitment in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we're going to peak in terms of commitments to those veterans in 2055. I would argue the point that we're still at war in Afghanistan. We have 10,000 service members there whose lives are on the line. The NATO commander says expect more U.S. casualties. We are about to consider an authorization for the use of military force in Iraq and Syria. We are and have been in a state of perpetual war, and there's a cost to that beyond sending the service member over, funding the assets that follow him or her. It's a cost to care for them and their family and their children when they return, and I just hope that we're all keeping that in mind as we go forward. There's a much larger cost than the immediate one that we consider. The Veterans Choice Act passed this August included a component to assess VA healthcare processes, and it was supposed to be an independent assessment. What do you have in this 2016 budget that would fund implementing the findings from those assessments, if any? And I don't know when that assessment is supposed to conclude.
Thank you, Representative O'Rourke. As you said, the Choice Act actually has required a number of assessments, which frankly we think are an incredible gift. I last weekend spoke to a blue ribbon panel that they have assembled who will take a look across all of the assessments. They will be finished their work by this August. and are working very, very hard, weekends, evenings, whatever they need, to make sure that that happens. And they are looking at all aspects of our operations, from
You have dollars in this budget to implement the recommendations that are made?
I don't think that we have explicit dollars. I think what we have is we expect that this will be a core part of management and how we do business. And we are providing them with all of the data that they need to actually make the recommendations as actionable and relevant to VA as possible. So we're very much looking forward to those.
Okay, my time has expired, but I would love to follow up with you on
Great.
that to
That
find
would
out
be
what that
terrific.
might cost. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.